Hello everyone, my name is Jackson. I am the person responsible for this channel and all of the videos on it. I am making this video in observance of reaching the milestone of 100,000 subscribers to this YouTube channel. And since so much of my work is by design impersonal and not about me, in the case some of you were curious about my background and what led to the creation of these videos, this is a chance for those of you who care to get to know a little bit more about the individual behind this work. Get ready for a whole bunch of rambling about me and my thoughts on what I am doing here. If this kind of video isn't your style, that's totally okay. Nothing about my regular work is going to change. Just let me say thank you for following what I do and for watching my work. I was born right at the end of the 20th century. I am 25 years old and I am a recent graduate of the University of Pittsburgh. I was born to two parents who were enlisted in the U.S. Navy. They met in boot camp and I was an accident, or as my mom would more softly put it, a surprise. I entered this world at the Naval Medical Center Portsmouth in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Once my parents got out of the Navy and before I formed my first memories, we moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, where I would spend the next 14 years. My biological father left before I formed any memories of him, and I would later learn that he passed away in a car accident when I was only 9 years old. I never got the chance to meet him. My mother remarried to another man who was an officer in the U.S. Navy, and that person later adopted me, and he is who I consider my father. The point of me saying all of this is that yes, I very much come from a Navy family and was raised in a landlocked state.
Well, it is December 24th of 2016.
When I was a sophomore in high school, I moved across the country to Farmington, Connecticut, and finished my secondary education there. I then moved back to Arizona, floated around a little bit working odd jobs and failing to make much progress in a planetary geology degree at ASU, when I transferred to the University of Pittsburgh and studied film production and HPS, or History and Philosophy of Science. I am an academic failure in mathematics. I was essentially a C student in the subject, just keeping my head above water until Calculus 1, and I hit a brick wall the likes of which I've never experienced before or since. It took me 7 years to get through college, changing my major and racking up debt and seriously questioning what my life's journey would look like. Ever since I was extremely young, I've always been fascinated with aviation. And video games in particular, computer games, the PC, have played a central role in fostering that interest. Like many of my generation, I don't watch TV, and I don't really watch a whole lot of movies. I grew up right in the sweet spot between the modern internet and the proliferation of smartphones and social media. As was common practice in gaming, even when I was young, I always used a pseudonym when I was on websites like Newgrounds or services like Skype. I'm not sure why I was so guarded and aware of protecting my identity online, but I am so thankful I did. When I was in elementary school, I would go to my grandfather's house and play Flight Simulator 2002 on his Intel Pentium desktop. I soon got my own copy of Flight Simulator 2004 and later on Flight Simulator X. I was fascinated with flying airliners. I marveled at the experience of controlling these big, gentle machines, and to my young mind there was a sort of magic to it all. Even for kids who were obsessed with video games, Microsoft Flight Simulator was a fairly unusual avenue for a kid so young. It's not exactly what you'd call fast-paced or action-packed, but it was my addiction and my favorite thing to do. 2009 was the 40th anniversary of Apollo 11, and around that time, many different pieces of media were coming out, related to the space program and space exploration history. Discovery Channel's When We Left Earth, the series Moon Machines, the film In the Shadow of the Moon, and many others completely captivated my imagination. To get my first real sense of what spaceflight was, and what space exploration actually meant. To a kid who spent his free time flying digital airplanes, it made me feel like I was a fish in a tiny pond just now learning about the sky above. I wanted more. I wanted to go higher, faster, and farther. There were games like Microsoft Space Simulator and Orbiter 2006, but those were generally too old, too clunky, or too difficult to a hyperactive manic kid who just wanted to go fly ships into space. In April of 2013, I bought an extremely early access build of a brand new game called Kerbal Space Program. I became obsessed with this thing. I still don't know how many hours I put into it, continue to put into it, and that figure is probably pretty embarrassing. Suffice to say, it was exactly what I was looking for, and it came along at exactly the perfect time. That single piece of media gave me the experiences I needed to firmly conclude that this was what I was most passionate about. Through it all, I continued to be a C student in math, and in school, I excelled primarily in history, language, and theater. Yes, I was a theater kid. I was in several productions throughout middle school and high school, from Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to The Baker in Into the Woods. I loved storytelling and being the center of attention, much to the chagrin of many of my teachers. So what do you do with a theater kid class clown who is secretly obsessed with spaceflight? Perhaps it was obvious that I was never destined to be a lab scientist, but even so, I followed my passion. Sometimes it seemed in circles. Just after I had moved to Connecticut, I heard about someone named Mark Gray and his home business of selling DVD sets of raw footage from the US space program. This was a chance to look beyond the polished documentaries I loved so much, to see the uncut stuff, to see so much more than what could be crammed in a 42-minute made-for-TV episode. Again, timing was on my side. I don't believe Mark's business, Spacecraft Films, is still operational. I think he retired, though he may plan to come back one day. But my luck was such that I discovered his business in the final years of its active life, and I was fortunate enough to be able to collect most of what he had been selling. This footage became the nucleus from which everything you see here was built. And it was all because people like Mark Gray were selling it at 1/10 of the cost of archive companies or digitization services. That single choice, to sell affordable DVDs, enabled a kid to begin and foster a hobby of cobbling together short little videos to show my parents and friends, to spread the love and passion I had which I simply could not contain within myself. Something called a YouTube channel. I have one. It's not very big, but I do have some popular videos. I make documentaries. It's pretty interesting. I'm kind of into video editing, and I love the Apollo program in space history. You can probably tell by my room decorations. YouTube was the natural choice to store all of these videos, but I never had any expectation that people outside my immediate social and family circle would ever watch. The transition from making inward-facing videos for my own personal purposes to producing outward-facing videos for an online audience is something that happened very slowly and very organically. It was a natural evolution as I started to get comments and feedback and I would fine-tune and adjust my work in response. I immediately immensely enjoyed video editing. Of course, I had no idea what I was doing, and some of you may still think I don't. Fair enough. But it was an opportunity to construct my own theatrical experience, and it was instantly addictive. Being a kid with no reliable income beyond holiday money gifts, I naturally tended towards the editing software that would allow me to buy a single perpetual license rather than a recurring subscription charge. For that reason alone, my first editing software purchase was Sony Vegas 16. It's now owned by a company called Magix. Vegas is what I learned to edit on, and it's what I still primarily use today. Of course, when I studied film production at college, the cult of Adobe was thoroughly hammered into me, and I gained proficiency in After Effects and Premiere. But if we're being honest, I have infinitely more familiarity with Vegas, and using it is a habit I've been unable to kick. Ever since I saw an extremely silly series of commercials in high school, I have used the same model of headphones, Sennheiser Urbanite XLs. I edit and do everything on them, and though it has literally taken me years, I am slowly learning to reduce the background music levels. Yes, I hear you. My microphone is a Shure SM7B with a Cloudlifter CL1 activator running through an Avid M-Box Mini audio interface. And all of these things are way too close to my computer, and I'm constantly fighting electronic feedback and digital hum. I do my narration and have a hidden music hobby on the side in a software called Mixcraft. Yes, I need to do more to reduce the noise floor when I'm narrating. From Microsoft Flight Simulator to Magix Vegas, I am constantly told by my peers that I am on the wrong side of history when it comes to my preferences for software. That may well be true, but there is a lot of inertia there, and it's what I know how to use. I'd say it's worked out pretty well, but I do wonder and worry that one day it might be an obstacle for me as I seek to join an organization or team. I just don't know, and I feel the channel has too much momentum, that I am too engrossed in the work of storytelling to learn how to edit all over again from scratch. Every day I learn how to do something new in Vegas is another thing I just have to forget and relearn in DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro. Video editing tends to be a constantly self-reinforcing, entrenching skill set. I am pretty shy in person, though in front of my friends I can still be a hyperactive class clown. I'm a fairly poor conversationalist, but I love to give a well-prepared, thought-out, and choreographed presentation. I'm more comfortable talking to large groups than I am to individuals. This hobby/budding career has molded my mind into a rapid flush-in, flush-out cycle. I like to stay completely focused on what it is I am actively researching, and many people I talk to are surprised when I have little to offer about other subjects even within space history. I often rely on others for knowledge and feedback. I am constantly asking for help. I'm often the last one in the room to get on the ball. I am by no means a savant. I work very slowly and deliberately. I hope that I have the sufficient respect for the source material, that I am taking the time to do it right, and to tell it as correctly as I possibly can, at least from the perspective of someone who wasn't there, and wasn't even alive when it happened. It is not my story that I'm trying to tell, and for that reason, I do not film myself speaking into the camera. In my personal opinion, that would be an unnecessary injection of myself into the subject matter. I happen to believe that there are too many talking heads on this site, and part of what makes my work unique, as I'd like to think it is that it is extremely footage-focused and visually oriented. That what you are seeing always aligns in some respect with what you are hearing. It's the golden rule of filmmaking. Show, don't tell. I would rather spend $4,000 on archival footage than take the cheaper and easier option of using my own face as B-roll. That's a personal choice. It doesn't reflect judgment on other channels, it's just what I would prefer to watch, and it gets back to the spirit of this channel and my work. I make the kinds of videos that I would want to see. I'm making films for the 13-year-old me. That insatiable child who had exhausted everything that was then available and wanted more spaceflight in his life. The guiding energy that I am striving to achieve, the vibe, if you will, is that of a campfire story. I want the viewer to feel as if they are a fly on the wall inside the spacecraft. I think that inside all of us, certainly inside me, is a spirit that very much wants to explore the universe, even if some of us might be physically terrified of riding a rocket or going into space. My goal is to make your mind's eye a passenger with a front row seat. My films have often waffled between warm energy and cool energy, exciting fanfare like Project Mercury, and a more relaxed narrative like Voyager. Lots of people like to fall asleep to my videos, and therefore prefer the latter. I'm not going to commit permanently to either direction, but I think it's safe to say that robotic subjects work better in my mind as calmer stories, as opposed to human spaceflight, which engenders a sense of excitement and bravado. I honestly like both, but I am trying to do more videos on robotic subjects to seek a fairer balance between the two. I've been accused of not playing the YouTube game very well. From my extremely long-form output, to my fairly sparse upload rate, to the fact that I don't show myself on camera. People either assume that this is the work of some unknown media company, or AI, or too long, or that I meander too much in my storytelling. All I can say is, this work is a pure reflection of how my mind works, and that it is completely and unapologetically me in how it is constructed and presented. My growth to 100,000 subscribers has been very slow, and my videos are most certainly not optimized for this platform. Right now, what I want most is to be able to support myself doing this full-time and have a budget of around $4,000 per video. Some of this money may go into music licensing. Most of it will go into footage digitization. I am well on my way to being able to do that, thanks to all of you, so I have no complaints. I'm happy, and for those who have expressed that my channel may not be performing as much as they think it should, I greatly appreciate the sentiment, and of course I'd love more people to watch my work. But I must say that the journey thus far has been amazing. I wouldn't change a thing. I really love all of your feedback, your comments, and your support. I read every comment, I heart every comment, well, at least the ones I like, and I try to respond to questions. It's incredibly exciting to see this thing continue to grow and evolve. I am still one person, just one personality that shapes and drives all of what you see here. These films are not made by committee. There are no animators, there is no staff. This is one guy trying to put out all of the little fires that he's made in his own mind in pursuit of making feel-good, interesting spaceflight documentaries that exist at the crossroads of science and history. I do think, one day, that I might branch out and cover other subjects of history, which I'm very interested in. The main one I'm keeping in my back pocket is the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. I'm also interested in smaller conflicts that were overshadowed by much larger ones, such as the Russo-Japanese War, the Italian invasions of Ethiopia, and the Spanish Civil War. But rest assured, I have a 3-year plan of upcoming films that are all about spaceflight in one sense or another, so that decision is well in the future. If you've made it this far, both my apologies and congratulations are in order. I wish there was something with a little more pop I could give you, but here are some bloopers and a silly cover of a song I made for a friend. Thanks for watching these last 5 years, and here's to a great next 5. See you around. When you lose a fight, or you crash. All of this, of course, depends on a successful launch of the Agena atop an Atlas missile. Missile? Gemini 4, 19... Borman and Lovell bumped into the crime... In other words, should the illuminated radars... Oh, that's bad. The mission of Gemini 9A is Gene Cernan on the first day... Using the traditional methods, they would normally make contact. Significant changes were finally being made to help Gemini crews. Oh, I said it. I said Gemini. Oh, get him. Get that guy. That they be actually...